When it comes to our first legacy inductee, you could sum up Philip Beale like this. His life was radio, and his actions spoke louder than words. Philip Beale began his broadcast career at WRGS in Rogersville while he was still a teenager. Plus, radio was in his blood. His father and two uncles signed on the station in 1954 in Rogersville, Tennessee's second oldest town. After graduating from East Tennessee State, he left WRGS to work for WJCW in Johnson City from the late 1960s to the early 1970s. He was an on-air personality and sports broadcaster, but Philip always dreamed of going back home, and he made that dream come true, returning to WRGS in 1972 as an owner and on-air personality. He remained in that position for the next 43 years until his death in December 2015. Always community-minded, Philip was a board member on the Rogersville 4th of July Committee, the Of One Accord Ministry, the Hawkins County Relay for Life, and always made sure his station was a supporter of many other civic organizations in Rogersville and all throughout Hawkins County. Philip served 2 terms on the Rogersville Board of Mayor and Alderman and was vice mayor during his second term. In the early 90s, Hawkins County Mayor Doug Price proclaimed a week as Philip Beale Week for his service to that community, plus many other honors for his service. There's even a road named after him in Rogersville. We are proud to welcome Philip Beale into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Next up, we have the story of Donna Break. It's a great one and is shared by founding board member Nick Archer and Karen Gerson.
Steely Dan from the album Gaucho. Great albums. Hey 19, WSB 99 FM. I'm Donna Break at 313.
A career arc that led from Triune, Tennessee to Murfreesboro, Nashville, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. It's all a part of the life of Donna Break. Donna was born in Nashville but raised in Triune. After high school, Donna went to MTSU to major in pharmacy, but her love of music won out, and she switched to a broadcasting major. She quickly excelled, working at WMOT and WGNS in Murfreesboro. She then applied for a job at WSM-FM in Nashville and got it. Donna was an on-air talent at SM95, then music director, then program director. The station did very well, and Donna was involved in every aspect, from programming to concerts and promotions. In 1982, Atlanta called, and Donna became the first female program director at WSB-FM. Again, success. The station prospered.
Time after time. Cindy Lauper, time after time. WSB 99 FM. I'm Donna Break. It is 5:33. It is off.
But after 2 years, Donna made the jump to print journalism as the adult contemporary editor at Radio and Records magazine. She became known to radio people all over the country through her column.
Adult contemporary editor of the respected trade publication Radio and Records, Donna Break. And the award.
In 1986, Donna started her own company, Donna Break Promotions, using her industry contacts to pitch music for the major labels. And once again, success followed. For the next 30 years, her company worked the stations across the country. Donna was Gavin Magazine's AC Independent Promoter of the Year for 3 consecutive years. And she was still operating the company until the last day of her life. A brilliant mind, an amazing soul, gone far too soon. Donna's achievements in the industry were many, but she also was a mentor to those around her and a friend to everyone she met. Many of those folks are here tonight to honor her.
Join us in welcoming Donna Break to the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is Otis Devine. Well, most of us know him better as Ott Devine, and he was an important part of the iconic WSM radio history. Ott actually began his radio career in the early 1930s at WJBY in Gadsden, Alabama, before moving to WDOD in Chattanooga as a big band leader of Chili Childs and his Commanders. Then Ott hit the big time and joined WSM in Nashville in 1935 as a staff announcer. 4 years later, he was named chief announcer. Then in 1942, he moved into the programming department. It was in that capacity that Ott conceptualized, produced, and presented more commercial and more longer-sustaining NBC network programs than were originated by almost any radio station in the country. Programs such as Sunday Down South and The Morton Salt Show on the NBC Radio Network, and many others, they all had the signature of Ott Devine. He became the WSM program manager and then later the manager of WSM's Grand Ole Opry for the next decade. And during that 10-year period, Ott signed top-named talent to the Opry, including Loretta Lynn, Hank Snow, Patsy Cline, and many others. He was also among the first voices and faces on Nashville's Channel 4. Devine gained a reputation as a man with an eye for talent. Among the notables he hired over the years, future Tennessee Radio Hall of Famers Grant Turner, Ralph Emery, and Teddy Bart. And now, we proudly welcome Ott Devine to the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Next up, it's Jim Ekner. History teaches us that someone who is really good at radio is usually good at just about anything they try. A perfect example of that was Jim Ekner. He was an excellent student in his native Memphis, where he developed his acting and debating skills. He became a cheerleader at the University of Tennessee, which was where he first sat behind a microphone. Jim was also an excellent soldier, serving his country as a special agent in the Army's Counterintelligence Division. And then he disc jockeyed his way through law school at UT in Knoxville, where he was Jumpin' Jim in the AM for WATE. This, by the way, was the station Mike Joseph consulted just before conquering the major markets with WLS and WABC. To call Jim an excellent DJ would be an understatement, as his intellect, skill, and talent combined to make him one of the best. After graduation and returning to Memphis, Jim was a prosecutor for the district attorney's office. But radio still called, and for a while, Jim jocked at WMPS.
So I went to Phil Canale and I said, General, they call the Attorney General, they always call him General. I said, General, I have an unusual request. And I told him, and he said, I never had a DA DJ before. And I said, well, maybe it's time for one. He said, well, I guess, could you use another name? I said, that's no problem. Of course, I can use a nom de air, you know, right. I can use a name. So I used my middle name, Edward, Jim Edward.
Jim's resume also included general counsel for TMI Records, the brainchild of music legends Jerry Williams, Steve Cropper, and Booker T. Jones. And he was also chairman of the board of Memphis Music Incorporated. While Jim was at TMI in 1973, WKNO asked Jim to be the on-air television host for its very first Pledge Night fundraiser ever.
And I said, what do I do? And I said, you just go on the air and you ask for money. I'm sorry, you're going to ask for money. I said, wow, okay, I'll see what I can do. And the next thing I knew, it was like, well, next Tuesday we're going to do this again. Jim, can you possibly? and I fell in love with WKNO at that time.
Almost 500 calls and $6,000 later, Jim was on track to another career and worked in fundraising for WYES New Orleans, the Selmer, Tennessee Charity Galley, the Memphis Public Library, and a host of numerous other causes and events. Jim also managed successful political campaigns and was a major force in the performing arts scene, writing, judging, acting, and directing in numerous community theater productions. He also acted in national TV commercials, 5 movies, and a CBS Warner Brothers TV series. Jim served on the board and as president of the Memphis Rotary Club, chairman of the Salvation Army Advisory Board, and numerous other charitable and civic causes. Even where hobbies are concerned, the multi-talented broadcaster attorney excelled. In his 50s, Jim developed an interest in watercolor, with his work selling at various benefit auctions. And now, we proudly welcome Mr. Jim Ekner to the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Our legacy category continues with the success story of Sid Leake. Back in the days when radio news was important to a station and its community, long before the internet, there was Sid Leake. And when radio news was competing with both newspaper and television, there was Sid Leake. Sid Leake was a die-hard newsman in every sense of the word. He took radio journalism seriously, he took pride in his work, and he took it all to a whole new level in West Tennessee. Sid was already an established news reporter and air personality in Memphis when he earned the position of news director at the legendary WHBQ in 1974. Now remember, WHBQ, it's the station that gave us names like Dewey Phillips, Wink Martindale, George Klein, Jack Parnell, Rick Dees, and many, many others. The name Sid Leake was synonymous with news in Memphis for years, and he held his own at this personality-driven station, delivering first-hand breaking news long before anyone else got the stories. And this in a town served by both morning and afternoon newspapers and multiple television news operations as well. Sid Leake stood above the rest. And here's something else unique. While most stations carried news at the top and bottom of the hour, WHBQ set itself apart with 20/20 news, 20 minutes after the hour and 20 minutes before the hour. Nobody was doing that. Sid Leake, radio news reporter and news director, back when radio news truly counted. And we think you'll agree, he deserves his place in the Volunteer State's rich broadcast history. And now, we welcome Sid Leake as our newest inductee into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Our final inductee in the 2019 Legacy category is Vic Rumore. His influence in Tennessee's radio and TV broadcast history will not be forgotten. Our Skip Woolwine explains.
Vic Rumore had broadcasting in his DNA, literally. Since the 1940s, his uncles Joe and Duke Rumore dominated Birmingham, Alabama radio for decades. With on-air nicknames like the Italian Cowboy, the Spaghetti Bender, and the Tune Tycoon, Vic DJ'd at WXXX in Hattiesburg while attending the University of Southern Mississippi.
WXXX, and we love you.
Vic Rumore here. Join me each afternoon on the Tiger. Come on, everybody, get your dancing shoes on and head for the KC Hall. If you like good music, you won't want to miss this night of fun tonight from 8 to 12 at the Knights of Columbus Hall on Old Lincoln Road.
Upon graduation in 1968, Vic became the #1 morning drive jock and a sales associate at WBHP Huntsville until 1972. From 72 to 74, Vic was the GM at WNPT Tuscaloosa, where he tripled revenue. So now, here's where Tennessee enters the picture. In 1974, Vic and some partners bought George Mooney's Top 40 WKGN Knoxville. Vic's track record in Alabama as a radio revenue specialist, and now his 4 years at WKGN, grabbed the attention of WIVK Knoxville's Jim Dick, who in 1978 asked Vic to move to Nashville to run WKDA and WKDF, a combo that was losing money. In short order, Vic Rumore turned the stations around with innovative promotional and sales strategies that propelled the combo to #1 in ratings and billing. While Dick Broadcasting in 1983 offered Rumore a lucrative 5-year contract to stay on, Vic turned it down because he saw another Nashville radio opportunity. In '83, Vic Rumore struck a deal where he'd pick up 30% ownership of Woody Sudbrink's WLAC AM and FM, which were losing $2 million a year, to turn them around the same way he had done for Jim Dick. It wasn't long before LAC AM and FM were #1 in billing, while solo LAC FM was #1 in persons 12+. That's unheard of for an adult contemporary format. Within 3 years, in 1986, the WLAC combo sold for $20 million, the highest selling price ever for radio at the time. With the sale, Vic moved on, but briefly returned from 88 to 89 to turn the station around again. In 1991, Vic returned to Nashville radio ownership with the purchase of Nashville classic rocker 104.5 WGFX for $3.5 million. The next year, 1992, Vic bought 99.7 WTN out of bankruptcy court for $2.2 million. Each was sold later at a substantial profit. Vic Rumor had certain strategies that were the foundations for his success. His broadcast ownership strategy was look for stations that were in trouble or underperforming, turn them around, and sell them for a profit. Since the 80s, Vic and partners did exactly this with radio and TV stations all over the country. His broadcast promotional strategy was image and imagination are everything. At WLAC-FM, they gave away upscale items like the top models of Volvo, Saab, and Acura. Not one, but two, his and hers Mercedes-Benz. Even a brand new house in fashionable Brentwood, Tennessee. But his people strategy is what his co-workers remember most. Some called it management by walking around. He took the time to regularly walk the halls and drop in and visit with every employee at the station. From salespeople to the board ops, traffic managers, bookkeepers, production guys, engineers, and jocks. He'd say, "Hey man, what you working on? Play me something." "Wow, that's strong. You're doing an awesome job." A visit from Vic Rumor during your workday went such a long way you'd follow him to the end of the earth.
I am the judge, and you ain't gonna win.
The cutest baby. I know you won't believe it.
Y'all have a good time, even though there's not gonna be much good food because Vic's paying for it and everybody knows he's cheap. In fact, Sister does a wonderful imitation of him. Can we do it cheaper? Pretty good, isn't it?
Can we do it cheaper? Remember that. Can we do it cheaper?
Now I don't know if all that's true, but you got me and baby I got you. Who wants Sonny and Cher?
Those are just a few of the reasons why Mr. Rumor is now being honored. Please welcome Vic Rumor into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame.